unfortunately guys, there are some bad news. With datamined conversations and the models, we have gotten a bit carried away with the time skip, and the possible world revamp of Azeroth is huge change. However, a few days ago Blizzard came out with an official blue post where they discussed in great detail what will actually be happening. There are some good news. They told us how long the actual time skip is, what happened, what changes will be happening in the game, because there will be some, and what we can expect. However, they also confirmed that there won't be a major visual revamp, but they also gave us some hints for some future questlines that may be happening, so we could see a revamp in real time. So what is this blue post? What are these news? And what is everything we know about the time skip? If you guys are looking for a really unique mobile fantasy game, check out BLOODLINE Heroes of Lithas, the sponsor of this video, and you can get it on both Android and iOS completely free. New legends will be born, as this is one of the most unique concepts ever for a mobile game. Now, the game is a 3D RPG with great graphics, easy controls where you build your own kingdom, economy, but the coolest part is you can collect companions, switch their genders, marry them off, and raise heirs. Now, you can, with that, create bloodlines, develop a family tree, and make really endless combinations to conquer the world. There are a bunch of various characters: Gilneas, the werewolf assassin clan, the Karg Dragonborn that you can get for free if you use my link, by the way, the mighty Fulgur demigods, and a bunch of other really cool races. So it's never been a better time to start. Scan the QR code on the screen or use my link in the description and the promo code as well, and get the Karg Dragonborn clan and the hybrid heir completely free. See you in game. So a few weeks back, a conversation was datamined that confirmed a several-year time skip in the Dragonflight alpha, and then that was removed, and we thought it was just a random thing that they may be considering, but they thought they screwed up, so they removed it, because let's be real, everything in the alpha is temporary as it is. Then they released another conversation, this time between Talisa and Lortima, that confirmed their marriage and a time skip, and then a few models were datamined, which could have hinted at the world revamp. This got a lot of us speculating. I've even made a few videos, and considering the previous information with the Night Elves, the so-called restoration, the liberation and the clearing of Undercity, and the possible return of Gilneas to the Alliance, it made total sense that some sort of a world revamp will actually happen together with the time skip. Well, just a few days ago, the actual narrative lead, Steve Denuser, came out and wrote an entire post discussing this, and keep in mind, this is a pretty detailed post explaining how the timeline works, gave some official answers on what year it actually is, talked about 9.2.5, and unfortunately also confirmed that a world revamp won't be happening, at least to a significant extent. So let's break all this information down. He first acknowledges that we've been discussing this, and I feel like Blizzard got him to make an official post so that we don't get our hopes up a lot and then get disappointed, because seriously, to me it seems like Blizzard is really not that well coordinated, and they kinda came out with the time skip out of nowhere and then realized that the art team can't exactly follow up with the story demands. Now, I understand the explanation they gave to an extent, but realistically, Azeroth is a living world. If several years have passed, it can't just be status quo where nothing happens, but I digress, this is just my opinion. Let's get into the meat of the matter, what we actually know. So, the official time skip is 3 years. The several years they talked about means 3 years, so in Blizzard's eyes, several equals 3, so that is no longer the big mystery. Apparently, Shadowlands and all the events there lasted for 2 years, and after we returned, 3 years have passed until we reached the Dragon Isles. Now, I gotta say, to an extent, it seems a bit ridiculous that we have been in the Shadowlands for 2 whole years. I think this might just be that time passes differently, the Shadowlands and the Afterlife that they told us about previously, but it sure didn't feel like 2 years from the story perspective. When you examine the actual story that we have gotten, we've been rushing from one side to the other. The only reason the expansion lasted 2 years was because of the content out and the fact that they didn't make any patches, but the actual content should have been happening over the span of a few months at the most. This is even the case when you consider what we've been doing in the Afterlife for 2 years. can you just imagine like what everyday life was like in the afterlife where no one is living? Are we just like hanging out? What were we even eating? Like, what was actually going on? Why I think this is ridiculous is because Blizzard in the official post, the most recent one, actually gave us data, so this is not a speculation. Shadowlands started in the year 35 and Dragonflight is starting in year 40. At first glance, this is okay, but this is why I think this is ridiculous. Apparently, the Burning Crusade happened in year 26 when we went to Outland, but apparently Pandaria happened in year 30. I don't know about you, but to me, this is just really crazy. So apparently we did everything with Illidan and the Burning Legion in Outland, and the entire Scourge invasion, the campaign against the Lich King, all the various offensives. Then the Shattering happened, all the crazy changes to the world, the resettlement, the fight against the Twilight Hammer, the defeat of Deathwing, all the changes to Orgrimmar, the Horde army, all that happened over the course of 4 years. Keep in mind, lore-wise, there was supposed to be a bit of a time skip between the defeat of the Lich King and the Shattering as well, so yeah, this is definitely a bit crazy. Then apparently, in the next 5 years, we've had the entire Pandaria campaign, the stuff with Lei Shen, the defeat of Garrosh and everything, all of Worlds of Draenor, the entire biggest Burning Legion invasion of Azeroth ever, the travel to Argus, and ultimately the entire battle for Azeroth, literally the entire story. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't really news because we have known for a while that only a year or two passes between expansions, but I gotta say, even when you know it, it does still sound ridiculous. Now, the point Blizzard wants to make in this post is that they acknowledge that it is actually ridiculous when you consider that like 10 crazy world-ending threats happened over the course of a single decade, so apparently they decided to do this time skip for the sake of the citizens of Azeroth. They have been going through hell non-stop, and this 5-year skip was supposed to be the times of peace, the times of reflection, and the times of rebuilding. Apparently, the citizens of Azeroth is the real reason, and they don't plan to do some crazy novel that you need to buy that is going to bridge the gap. Although, they said that there will be a short digital story on the website to complement Dragonflight. Now, in my opinion, this is actually cool that they acknowledge how ridiculous it is that so few years passed between these major events, especially considering the logistics. I mean, imagine the Horde Civil War, first one with Garrosh, the second with Sylvanas, all happened in the span of like, what, 2-3 years? It's just logically and logistically impossible for the faction to replenish the manpower, especially if you sprinkle in the, I don't know, the Burning Legion invasion where they lost a ton of people. Like, how is the Horde even functioning? The problem with all this is that Blizzard essentially soft confirmed that there won't be a world revamp or any sort of significant visual changes, which I gotta say, to me, honestly, it seems like they don't really want to invest in the game as opposed to them caring about the consistency of the denizens of Azeroth. If we gotta completely rebuild Orgrimmar over the course of like a year, how is it possible that no visual changes happened on Azeroth over the course of 5 years? Weren't they supposed to like rebuild, get rid of the Scourge army that attacked and that is probably not existent anymore? Maybe clean the clutter from the Battle for Azeroth that happened 5 years ago at this point now with Dragonflight? However, to not get too dark, there are some exciting news that can be pulled from this post, and with this vague answer, they sort of foreshadowed a big event that may be happening. So, they said that some characters that are younger will get a little older, which may give them future roles in the game, possibly with Troll's Child or maybe the Pandaren Lily that you may remember from Mob. However, this won't be a significant change where adult characters will look significantly different, so don't expect to see Tyrellian with a huge beard or Anduin just not looking like himself. Now, here comes the most interesting part of this entire post. Apparently, Blizzard heard of us talking about the resettlement and the retaking of Gilneas by the Alliance, and they confirmed that it won't be happening off screen, so don't expect to see Gilneas waving the Alliance flag at the start of the Dragonflight with everything rebuilt. However, and a big but, they do seem to be planning to do it later down the line. This was kinda heavily hinted. The user in particular uses the example of 9.2.5 and the reclaiming of ruins of Lordaeron and how there was a big questline, so he said that big events like these will be happening in-game and that the players will experience this. Now, of course, they didn't say what events will be happening, but I think it is oddly suspicious that Gilneas has been mentioned in this post, Gilneas in particular, and that they foreshadowed this quite recently. So I think this might actually be the best news of the bunch, as we could get some really exciting content later down the line, and we can also use this point to speculate further. There won't be a significant time skip at the start of Dragonflight, so we won't see any crazy changes, rebuild cities, but we may be seeing it during, near the end, or after Dragonflight, and it does seem like they are considering it. So the changes to Lordaeron, Gilneas, and the Eastern Kingdoms overall may be a patch or something that will happen later down the line, which I gotta say may actually be more exciting than just getting the expansion and seeing all the changes happening off screen and then reading about it in a novel that you need to buy so that you can catch up with the actual lore. Now, they kind of end the post with a bit of a weird statement where they say, for your own character, it has always been up to you to decide how much time has passed after you log in after any major update or expansion, and you are free to imagine what happened in this in between. Now, while this sounds cool, I think it is stupid when you actually think about it. I mean, sure, you can say to yourself that 50 years have passed and all this happened, but they just came out with an official blue post saying 3 years passed, so no matter how you want to interpret it, the data is that 3 years have passed and the changes that happened you can actually see, so I guess you can only kind of say what your character had done in those 3 years, but you can't really dictate the time. So I can't really say I'm really liking these news, especially a confirmation that there won't be a world revamp, and it does seem like they're just going to kind of sweep this time skip under the rug without all that much effort. The only exciting bit is that these visual changes may actually be happening in the game, so we may be seeing some action in the Eastern Kingdoms later down the line. Thank you for watching. Check out the new and exciting directed lore by clicking on the screen, and check out Doran's Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.